Welcome, everyone. My name is Natasha Fish. I'm the board chair for bEmboldened, and Naomi Wright is with us today, founder and executive director, to talk about our fall courses that are launching like next week. So here we are, ready to answer questions and give you a sneak peek about what you can expect from these courses, an overview, and also answer some of our most asked questions, as well as any questions that you put in the chat. So feel free to add your questions to the chat at any point. And for those of you who stick around, we do have a discount code that you can use at checkout between now and midnight when registration closes on October 1st. And that's for the Rebuilding After Religious Abuse digital course. So let's dive in. Naomi, we're here to talk about these courses, one of which we launched this summer, and it's back for the fall, which is awesome. The Rebuilding After Religious Abuse course is our foundational course of the Be Live Free Collective. BE Live Free Collective. This course provides access to tools and education that are necessary in rebuilding your life after religious abuse. And you can expect to gain insight into the science of trauma, triggers, boundaries, healthy community, and more through this 7-week program. So Naomi, we'd love to hear, how did this course come to be?
Yeah. So first, sorry, I'm a little distracted. For anyone who follows along on Instagram, Facebook, you have probably seen Solomon Butter, our very fluffy white kitty, and he is causing some drama over here. I just got a new suitcase because I didn't have one, and I think he's going to claw it to death. So, please hold.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, can't.
Here he is.
Here he is.
Anyone would like to see before I kick him out? He's very sweet, but he is still technically a kitten.
Better hide that suitcase stat. It is a nice suitcase too. It's, you want to keep that one around.
Sorry, everyone. And now he'll be clawing at the door because he likes to have options. He wants to be in or out, whatever he pleases in the moment. So, as cats do. But yeah, so talking about rebuilding after religious abuse first, because again, we're going to go over all 3 of our courses that we have today. So I want to give an overview of each of the 3 to make sure you're clear on what the focus is, and give you kind of a sneak peek, something to consider, like basically a piece that we'll be sharing in each of those courses to kind of give you a taste of it. And then heading into answering some of our most top asked questions that people send our way, and then any questions that come through in the chat. Of course, we want to respond to those too. So starting with rebuilding after religious abuse. So if you're listening to this, watching it now, or if you're watching it through the replay, we will get to all 3 if this isn't the one you're curious about. But for rebuilding after religious abuse, this course came to be. This is like our, what do you call it? Like the pioneer course. This is our foundational, first one that we've done. Flagship. Thank you. Yes. There's the word. So that is, although it is a pioneering course at the same time, because there's nothing like it that any of us are aware of or that anyone's brought to our attention. So this course came out of not only my own story, but what I was hearing from everyone else through our mentoring services at bEmboldened, which is our one-on-one and small group meetings that we have with people where we come alongside individuals. So as I was hearing things that people were bringing up, I just noticed this pattern of these are 7 conversations that we have with every single person. In some degree. So it might not be the full-on thing that doesn't necessarily go in order, but inevitably all of these 7 get touched upon at some point in the relationship. And so in seeing that pattern, I thought it would be just really helpful for people if we put together a curriculum that covers them in more depth, really gives people a footing in understanding what's going on with themselves to make sense of it, give them language for it, as well as equip you with actual practical tools that you can put into place as you're rebuilding and you're healing after you've experienced religious abuse. I will also note this, I have had people go through this course who desire to know more about how those who have suffered suffer. They themselves have not had the experience, but they want to have a better understanding to offer support, and they have found it very valuable. So if you are someone in more of that support role, or you desire to be, it could be a good fit for you too.
Yeah, definitely. It's packed with great information, and we don't want to give it all away, but we do want to give you just a little bit of a peek into how this can be so practical and helpful for you, whether or not you're suffering from religious abuse or you're trying to support someone. So, Naomi, in week one, the focus is on grieving well. What's helpful to know about grief that they're going to learn more about in this course?
Grief is grief is a big topic. It's a big topic for those of us who have experienced religious abuse as well. So people typically when they think about grief, they'll think about having lost a loved one, whether it's a human or it's a pet. And it's either a sudden loss where it was unexpected, or there's an anticipatory aspect to it, or say if someone is having a decline and we know that they are going to pass. So there is that kind of grief is very real, of course. Many of us have already experienced it even multiple times, and inevitably we will in our lifetime. But there are other forms of losses too that give us a different kind of grief, or a different classification of grief is really how I should say it. And those of us who have experienced religious abuse typically have this other kind of grief called disenfranchised grief. Now, this kind is kind of an earmark for it is that it's a loss of something that isn't typically recognized by society. And oftentimes what's not going to be recognized by society are intangible things. You know, we're tangible, we can touch, and things that are intangible we tend to interact differently as, tangible human beings. And so we can, the loss of a loved one, like that was a tangible being that we've lost. But we can also lose our worldview, our set of beliefs and how we look at the world. We can lose the sense of community that we have. So not just the individual people, but like the traditions that, every year at Christmas time, like I went and I volunteered for the Christmas pageant. I didn't do that. We didn't celebrate Christmas, but as an example. And so we can have these other losses that, again, are unrecognized by society. People don't really know what to do with them in the same way. They're also harder to quote unquote prove when we talk to someone, which can make them much easier to dismiss. And that can leave us feeling very unheard, unseen, maybe feeling like we're just really weak, like there's something wrong with us. Like, why is this so hard? And so something that we spend some time on in week one is learning more about the different kinds of losses, why they matter, really honoring those for people, as well as talking about ways that we can move forward and support ourselves through that pain that we have.
So helpful. That will be one that people use. I love that it's week one because it's just so foundational to what everything else that comes next. So that's going to be
Yeah.
really helpful.
And that's why I put it first, is because I'm like, we've got to acknowledge what this has been for us first. We need to start there. So yeah, thanks for noticing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's clarify how this course is functioning on just logistic level so that people can understand, what to expect as they're getting into it. So can you clarify, times of when the course is dropping? I put that in quotes because it's a digital course. Shouldn't it just be available whenever? Can I just sign up and take it whenever? Tell us about the time when it's dropping plus the live Q&A.
Sure. So it is currently, this is the second time that we call it rah rah for short. So if it just comes out rah rah, I mean, it kind of worked out nice. I don't know that it's like super energetic when we think about the topics, but good things come out of it. So rah rah. The course released for the first time over the summer. This is the second time it's launching. And so far, we are keeping it as a dripped course. So, what that means is each Monday, starting next week, Monday, so Monday, October 2nd, one of the 7 modules is going to release. So Monday, October 2nd, module 1 releases. Monday, October 9th, I believe it is, module 2 releases. Now, as that happens through the 7 weeks, you don't lose access to the modules from the previous weeks. They're still going to be there. You have access to those for a full year. So from October 2nd it'll go through October 1st of 2024. So you're not rushed to go through everything, but we designed it so that there could be a sense of, I am going through this at the same time as other people, even though you don't know who they are and you're otherwise most likely disconnected. And I say it most likely because I'll mention something here in a second, but we wanted also for our team to be ready, knowing we have a group of people going through this course right now. We may have questions pop up. We may have one-on-one needs pop up where people want to get connected with mentoring, like what may have something tech-wise come up. If that's the case, of course, we want to jump on it right away. So we just wanted to keep tabs on, okay, this is how it's being released. There's sort of a sense of togetherness, even though we're not together and it is a confidential course. So that's how it's set up. That may change in the future where it's going to be on demand and it just all comes out at one time, but we're continuing with the structure at least for the time being. And what I mean by on demand, so let me address that because that may be what you're asking me too as far as timeline is. No, it's not available at all times. It is releasing on October 2nd and like in July it released on July 7th or whatever it was. And so once registration closes at midnight on Sunday, October 1st, this coming Sunday, we haven't yet picked our date for when we'll launch it again, but it will be gone. It will be unavailable until the next time we do this.
That's super helpful to know. So this is really the chance, the opportunity to do it. And explaining that rationale is helpful. There's a definitely intention behind that. We want it to be a good experience for people taking it and for it to be released in such a way that people can handle it and take it at their pace. Tell us about the live QA. When is that happening? Is it required? What happens if someone misses it?
Sure. So the live Q&A is kind of a bonus thing that we wanted to add to the end. So again, you may not have gone through all 7 yet, and if that's the case, it's totally fine. If you haven't gone through all 7 modules or topics, you could have done one and been like, I still want to participate in the Q&A because I want to hear other questions. I want to hear the interaction. I want to hear the answers. Maybe I already have a question that I want to participate with. So you're welcome no matter what phase of the course you're at to attend the live Q&A. It is not required. You absolutely do not have to show up. It is live and it's not recorded, even though privacy is ensured anyway, because we're doing it in a webinar style fashion. So you can't see faces or names or things like that. We're still not recording it. That's our decision again at this time, because if someone even asked a question where maybe it would give away maybe some identifiers about their situation, like if they like said what organization they were a part of or something like that, I just don't want anything documented for people. So just 100% to ensure safety, it's not recorded, which means if you don't make it, totally fine. We won't be able to send it to you. The other thing that I wanted to mention, the date, of course, I want to say that. The date is Wednesday, November 29th from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. So if you are thinking about taking the course and you want at least this blocked out on your calendar to make sure you have it available or kind of look ahead and see if you can get it blocked out, that date's already set. So you can know it 2 months in advance, Wednesday, November 29th from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. That's also in your confirmation email when you register for the course. So you get an automated email back and it will include the link for this.
Great. What about additional materials? Will someone taking this course need to buy any books or any materials besides purchasing the course itself?
No, absolutely not. You will get a PDF outline for every week that you can print out, or you can make it editable on your computer if you're wanting to fill in notes as you go. So it is more of a skeleton outline. And you'll get a double-sided, looks pretty, looks nice, further, how would I say it? We call it a weekly summary. But it's not only a summary of some of the main points we want to highlight, where you could like stick it on your fridge if you're wanting to remind yourself of some key things. It also has some further consideration section. So a question for you to think about, an application suggestion for you to consider. So if you're wanting sort of that idea of like quote unquote homework, where you're going to bring your attention back to it throughout the week, we offer that for you. There also is a section with further resources, so resource recommendations. Those are strictly if it's something where you're like, gosh, this was helpful and I really wish there was a book I could read or something like that. We do have a couple of suggestions for each module that's just for you if that's a benefit.
Great. What if someone wants to take it with a friend or maybe multiple friends?
Yeah. So if you want to take it with someone else, whether you're a couple or whether it is a friend, whatever that looks like, you can go ahead on the website, bElivefreecollective.com. And when you go to purchase the course, you'll see that you have 2 options. One is for an individual, and then one is for a couple. And again, you don't have to be what's the word? an intimate couple. This doesn't have to be that kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be a spouse or someone you're dating or anything like that. So it can just be a friend. That's perfectly fine. And so you do get a discount built in. And the code we're going to give you at the end of today for rebuilding after religious abuse, that code will work on that couple's package as well. So that ends up being a really good savings. So if there's someone you want to partner up with, that's a good idea. As far as if you have 3 or more people, you'll see on the website that we say to reach out to us, and that's because we have to set it up for you. So the pricing is set, and I'm going to rattle that off now for anyone who wants to take note of it. So if you want to, write this down or come back to this, if you are between 3 and 5 people, the course would drop to $199 per person. If you're 6 to 9 people, it drops to $179 per person. If you're 10 to 14 people, it goes down to $159 per person. And if you're 15 or more people, it goes down to $149 per person.
Sorry if I put
So
that in the chat, Naomi.
yeah, absolutely. That would be great. Thank you. So again, because we have to set up the pricing on the back end so that you can actually get that pricing, we would need you to reach out to us, but I'm happy to, tell you what it is right now so you have it. An additional option is if you want to add on a private live Q&A. So if you want to schedule an hour for just your group and me to interact, let me know that and we can add that on. Otherwise, everyone's still welcome to come to the not public, but for everybody who participated this round Q&A, which is the November 29th one. Everyone can come to that.
Great. All right. So I think you already answered how long we'll have the access to the course. It's 1 full year. And you did mention a couple times just caring about confidentiality. So can you just confirm for us that is anyone taking the course, will their identity remain confidential?
Yeah, Will. So I had a great question come up. I'm so glad when people reach out, like to clarify. So you have some things unclear, or if there's something that's a barrier for you right now where you're like, I don't know if this would be right for me for this reason, please let us know, because especially if there's a misunderstanding in the materials we're putting out, we want to make sure that we correct that. We want everyone to be well informed as they're making this decision. And so I did just receive a question about how is it on the website? I'm trying to think. If you go and you see the different topics, I think somewhere we must have it listed where it is group engagement. And so that was such a good clarifying question. So the group engagement that you'll see in regards to RAH, Rebuilding After Religious Abuse, our digital course, is how it was recorded. So it's still pre-recorded. You're still watching it in your own home, no cameras on you. Like you're watching it just like you would watch a movie. And what that means is it was myself and then Kelsey, Zoe, and Jordan were all engaging around questions during that segment of the video. So it's not that you will be engaging with anyone or you'll be seen or known. It's just how we recorded that section versus in comparison, just straight like teaching or equipping, where that's me just looking at the camera and it's just me. So the course was designed to do both and intermix them because one, I don't want anyone to just stare at me for an hour and a half a week. And two, I think you learn a lot through the interaction. You have 3 other people in addition to myself that you might connect with, that you might resonate with in their stories. And it's been really cool from our feedback from the round in July to see who people most connected with. It's great to see the variety. We're like, gosh, I really connected with Jordan's story in this situation. I really connected with Zoe here. And so it helps you have other voices to consider, give you other language for your experience. And inevitably through that group engagement, more education just comes out by nature because people are saying things and we're responding to them and thinking things through. And so you get both. And I really value that. And it's a way that we're going to continue recording moving forward. So don't worry if you see group engagement. It doesn't mean that you're active. It doesn't mean that you're seen. The only information that my team would even have, and that's really me and then our webmaster, we can see who has registered on the back end because obviously you put in your card information, you purchase the course. So I can't see your card information, the system's secured, all of that, but I can see like your email or whatever name you put in so that I can message you. Now, with that, some people, when they put in a username, they put in something that's unidentifiable. We actually had someone use a pseudonym and later share that they used a pseudonym. You're welcome to do that. So you can even keep it where I don't actually know your real name or who you are. Just please forgive me if I do send, like if there was a tech glitch or something, heaven forbid, and I send you a message if I call you the wrong name, because I'll use whatever you put in. But yeah, some people even did like, like an email address where it's totally cryptic, not the app part, but whatever that would be. Like mine when I was a kid was like, dreaming2117 or something. So someone could put in something like that. So yeah, you're completely confidential. This is totally anonymous. And that was absolutely intentional. I think there's 2 different styles here that we're offering, and I'm just gonna add this, Natasha, because we're about to segue into the other style. There are several reasons why we recorded Rebuilding After Religious Abuse and put it out in this way. One is because of time zones. We serve people internationally live, over Zoom or something, and somebody's sleeping. It's 3 a.m. for someone out there who is wanting to attend. And so we wanted to get outside of that. We also wanted to free us up live to be able to continue to build new resources while keeping those other ones going. And we wanted those who were not comfortable for whatever reason in joining a Zoom for a live facilitated course to have a way to still access that information in the way that they're comfortable. We don't want that to be a barrier. So this is absolutely the way to go if that is where you fall. So I hope that it proves to be a great resource for you. I really believe in this course and we've gotten excellent feedback. So yeah, and if you do decide to attend the live Q&A, there are outtakes. There's a blooper reel. And so if you want to see me look ridiculous and see other people look ridiculous and laugh after you've gotten to see us over 7 weeks and kind of build some rapport with us, if you then want to see what else happened, I'm happy to play that in the live Q&A.
It's worth the watch. You won't want to miss it. Well, for any other frequently asked questions, I am putting in the chat just a site that you can go to. And this is specifically for the Rebuilding After Religious Abuse digital course. So check those FAQs out if you have any more questions. And of course, if any questions come in, we will answer them on the chat live here. So moving on to our next opportunity for our course, let's talk about the Can-I course. The Can-I program, it's been designed based on the most commonly wrestled with questions we're asked here. Like with the Rebuilding After Religious Abuse, there are things that every single person that we talk to needs to hear. Very similarly, the Can-I course follows that pattern of these are the questions that we're asked here about God, about the Christian life. So with a credentialed facilitator, you'll have a safe place to explore those questions and continue to reconsider how you view the world and build that worldview back up after it's been lost, as Naomi mentioned, in that one of those intangible losses that we often experience. So 7 weeks again, throughout those 7 weeks, you'll have the opportunity to engage with these tough but important topics and take another step towards healing through seeking that truth. So Naomi, tell us about this course. How did the Can-I program come to be?
So again, similarly, like you had just recapped, we get the same questions from people about faith, about Christianity, about God, about the Bible, about how to live now, especially if they were in a group that was maybe more of, quote unquote fundamentalist or something that was just very strict. And they've got questions about those things. And so that's where we saw, okay, this will be our second our second course that we're going to build, because we want to answer those questions again on a more mass scale than we can with our one-on-one, abilities here at bE. So that was the next one that we created. We have facilitated it live once so far. So this is our second and last time for the foreseeable future. And we'll touch on that again. But the point of these questions, something I want to make sure is really clear. We serve people at bEmboldened who do not identify as Christian at this time. We have people who are atheists, we have people who are agnostic, we have people who are just, they're seeking and they're just really, yeah, they're just really not sure. I mean, they'd be like, I don't even know what I am. I don't even want to pick a title. I'm just not sure. I don't know how I feel about any of this. I don't know what I think about any of this. And so these are 7 questions that show historical backing, like literary literary contextual things. I mean, we cover a lot of stuff here, and I know we'll give an example in a second, but the goal of this is so that you have the information, so that you're educated and you get to decide. Because when we're in a group where we were exploited, we were manipulated, things were twisted, we didn't actually get to choose based on what's real, like based on the merit of what is before us. Like it's just, we weren't given that opportunity. We weren't given that freedom. And so that's really the heart behind Can I is here's the information and you get to choose what to do with it. So I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to make you believe something. None of that. It's, hey, here's what we know. Here's the evidence we have. And now you engage with that. And we're happy to continue to engage with you in that. If you want to, again, become a mentoring client and talk one-on-one or something like that. But the goal of Can I, again, is to present you with the evidence that there is, answer your questions as best as we can, and allow you to take those next steps forward for you, whatever those may be.
So good. I'd love to get a sneak peek of what an example of one of those topics is. So in week 6, I believe it is, we talk about calling. What would be helpful for people to know about calling?
Calling puts a lot of pressure on people. And some people have heard it really directly, like you are called to insert the blank, and maybe it was accurate, maybe it wasn't. And some people just have felt a lot of pressure through general teaching of what they're supposed to be doing and what they're not supposed to be doing. And so we can see this in mainstream Christianity, let alone in more high control environments, or an environment where church hurt has happened, or a compound off the grid, wherever on that spectrum. This can be a like kind of a landmine that we end up stepping on, and we maybe didn't even realize that we were struggling with this topic. But something we want to clarify for people is that anyone who is Christian has the same primary calling. We all have the same primary calling. And that is loving God, loving our neighbor. Like that's those commandments that we're giving in the New Testament. Those are like, that is what we are called to do. We are here to do those things, to love God, glorify Him, and do that through worship and loving others. So moving into a secondary calling, someone may have a specific secondary calling, someone may not. So we also call this a vocational calling. But this vocational calling, like if I feel called to this area of work, for example, then that doesn't make me more special. It doesn't make me more important. It doesn't make me more anything. It doesn't overshadow that primary calling that all of us have. And those can really get flipped. We're not necessarily taught that we all have the same primary calling. Like in that terminology, hey, we're all on the same page here. And then, yeah, some people may feel like they have a more specified vocational calling. Someone could be an electrician and feel like that's my calling. This is my vocational calling because I'm so good at it and I interact with people and I do it unto the Lord. And I get to do it with integrity. I get to price things correctly and not take advantage. And, we get to do things with ethics, with morality. So that's one of the pieces that we go into about calling. Of course, we expand from there and touch on some other ideas, but that's something to get you started.
All right. I think we had a little bit of a glitch there. So welcome back, Naomi. But yeah, that's great to know about calling. And I think you finished your sentence, so we don't even need to go back to that. How is this course structured, especially in comparison to Rah Rah?
So overall, it's really this, it's the same, but it's different because it's not pre-recorded. So this is live. So this is happening in real time. There's a day and a time frame in which it happens. I believe this one's Monday nights from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and I think Biblical Literacy is Tuesday nights, but please don't quote me on that if I have it backwards. But it is a set day, it is a set time. We have a set 7 Mondays that we're meeting. We are skipping the week of October 23rd because I'll be traveling. So you will see if you look at the calendar, it looks like it's 8 weeks, but it's because we are going to miss a week. At a set day, set time frame. Everybody is there if possible. Again, we don't record, same thing for people's privacy, so nothing's recorded. So hopefully everyone's able to attend. If someone does miss one, I am happy to share my notes with you if you miss one or two. Beyond that, we ask that you would retake it because just so much to miss. Let me see. What else did I want to say about structure? Oh, as far as how each individual session is actually set up, and that way it's similar to Rara. It's just you all are the Jordan, Zoe, and Kelsey. So we're actually interacting. So there is straight equipping, like me sharing information with you. There's questions that I'll ask. You are welcome to share or to not. You don't have to. Some people are less comfortable actually speaking, and so they'll use the chat box, and I'll just read what was said in the chat and respond to that for everyone. If you had a question, maybe you feel like a little unsafe or a little like uncomfortable asking it directly, you can send it through the chat. And again, I'll read the question, but I won't say who asked it. So some people do choose to have their videos off. And I don't know if I've had someone use a pseudonym or not, because depending, I wouldn't know if it was a pseudonym or not. So it's possible that people have done that. I just like to note that while you are welcome to have camera off if you want, you're welcome to stay muted and comment something through the chat if you want. It just won't necessarily take an hour and a half because it is designed for group engagement. And so if I ask questions and I'm just giving you a few minutes to think about it before moving on versus us actually kind of dialoguing, totally fine. We'll probably wrap up closer to 40 to 45 minutes versus the 90 minutes. And that's okay if that's what the group needs it to be. So I just kind of give that disclaimer. So yeah, whatever that specific group is needing. I think the last time we ran we had 2 or 3 people who had cameras shut off and muted the whole time and communicated via the chat. And then I think everybody else had it on. And so we had like a nice mix, and that seemed to work really well for people. So if that confidentiality piece would be a barrier, but you want to be able to ask questions live as we go through, this could still be a good fit for you. Again, no one's calling you out for having your camera off. Like no one's going to say anything about it. We have a code of conduct that we go over, which is just an agreement that we all make and how we're going to engage with one another, how we're going to be respectful. We understand that people have kiddos. We're talking evening time on a weekday. So it's possible there could be an interruption. It's possible someone would have to shut camera off for a few minutes, like run and do something. All of that is fine. This is designed to be functional for you guys. And again, we'll go over that code of conduct agreement. You can also see it on the websites. It's linked. If you go to register. So if you want to take a look at what that is beforehand, please feel free to.
Great. You already talked about confidentiality, but does this course require any materials to be purchased outside of the course itself?
No, it doesn't. This one doesn't either. Same thing. I'm trying to remember actually. I think for this one, I'm pretty sure. Yes, we do. For this one, at the end of every single week, let me rephrase it. In the documentation, it's at the end of the week. Obviously, you're going to get the same stuff. You're going to get your PDF outline for you to take notes if you choose, totally up to you. And if you're a note taker or not, but we supply that for you if it is a benefit. And you're going to get your double-sided weekly summary sheets, again, with some further engagement if you want, some recaps of things that we would suggest you reflect back on if you choose to. At the end of each of those PDF outlines, you're going to see the resources that we used for that content. So you can go look at where we pulled information from. And we also offer a couple, typically, I think for all except maybe one, we've got at least one YouTube video. For someone who's not as much a reader and would rather have a YouTube video, we like to give you a mix. So you'll see those things too, but nothing is something that's required.
Great.
And not even not required. It's not even expected. It's literally there for you in case you would want it.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, there's so much richness here, really. And this course, as Naomi mentioned, is different than Rebuilding because it's live. Will it be offered again live with a facilitator?
Not in the foreseeable future. So we have a rhythm that we're in. We'll see how if it continues, but we're facilitating twice the way we are for Cani and biblical literacy starting next week. We're doing it 2 times. So this will be the second run through for Cani. And then it's going to the recorded version. So we're actually scheduled to record it already in March of next year. So it probably won't be coming out in the recorded version until sometime next summer. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. If it's something that you think you would want to do sooner rather than later, I would catch it on this round. And if you like the live version, you're like, no, I want to engage with other people, or maybe I don't, I'm going to have my camera off, but I at least want to be able to ask questions in real time and have that additional support available, then you would want to sign up for starting next week for Cani, because it will go away. I'm not saying it'll never come back, but I don't have plans. It's not scheduled to come back again in the foreseeable future.
And the
So
good news is that once it's recorded, we'll be able to offer it just like we're offering Rebuilding After Religious Abuse. So that's what's really exciting. And it's a really great opportunity for us to hone that process to make sure that when we record it, it's the best version it can be for people.
which is kind of cool. Yeah. So if you're someone who also is like, wow, I really love what bEmboldened's doing, and I want to be more of a part of it in some way. If that resonates with you, this is a cool way to do it, because we're going to take your feedback and we're going to continue to actually tweak the course before we record it. So that can be just a really unique, cool opportunity to jump in on. And because of that, the cost is lower than it is in digital form. So, and it's funny because generally speaking, that's backwards. For to have a live facilitator versus something that's been recorded, typically live is going to cost more money. And in the future, that might be the case. So for example, if we've released the recorded digital version next summer, and then say the following year we run it live again with myself and or say Michael, who's on our curriculum writing team, we're facilitating it, it's probably not going to cost $199. It's going to cost more than the digital course at that time. So because we want to give the different price point options for people too. So it'd probably be higher. This is discounted because we want more people to come in, do it with us, and help us, give us that feedback as we're finalizing it. So you're getting to pilot it in a way. And you're, getting the discount because of that and getting to be a part of what it's going to be in the recorded version. However, I also want to share, please don't let that be confused to this is not incredibly well done material. For Cani specifically, I mean, I cannot even tell you, I don't know how many the hours that go into writing this, the amount of reading, the amount of investigating all of the resources, the actual putting it together, the peer-reviewed nature of it. Cani specifically was actually my final project. It was basically my thesis project for my master's degree from seminary. And I got an A on it, guys. So, okay. So like, this is a very well done course. I can promise you that. Like, it is well researched. So again, please don't think like, oh, we're just kind of like playing around and like, let's see how it goes. No, a lot went into this. We're looking for those last final tweaks so that we know we've got it where it needs to be.
I'm glad you said it, because if you hadn't, I would have. So absolutely agree. We actually have a question in the chat for the Rebuilding After Religious Abuse. Ruth says that she experienced spiritual abuse in a community she's still attached to. Can she attend? She can't attend any gatherings. So would the RARA course still be helpful?
I'm reading it for myself now just to make sure I'm totally following. So I see the ... Natasha, does that mean I'm missing some or?
Probably. So let me just read it here. I
Okay.
experienced spiritual abuse in a community I'm still attached to. My husband is still there. I can't attend any gatherings because I'm constantly triggered. Would the Rah Rah course still be helpful?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Ruth, that would absolutely be a helpful course for you. So, and I'm assuming that means any gatherings at the church. I'm just making sure that I'm not confusing. There's no gatherings for attending the course. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. As far as anything attending at, going to anything at the church, I hear you on that. So we talk about the science of trauma. We talk about triggers so that you'll leave with a good footing on, okay, what's going on in my body? Why is this happening? And how can I help myself? We also talk about boundaries. We talk about finding safe people, all of those things. And so, yes, we are fully aware and understand that sometimes we have couples where there's a split with where they're at in their journeys and someone may still be involved. So this is also, again, a totally confidential thing for you to do. Whatever you're needing the privacy to look like, this is going to give you that full privacy. So yeah, I think this could be a really great option for you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Ruth. And she did clarify gatherings at the church. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I personally feel that. I know that feeling. And my husband and I were in different places with things before too. So yeah, my heart is with you as you navigate this. And if we can ever be of support in any other ways, please don't hesitate to send me an email.
great. Naomi, anything you want to add about Can-I before we talk about our third and final course?
I highly recommend it, you guys. And I'm like, I know I'm probably, it's like she's biased. She helped write it, or I did write this one. But anyway, I think it's important information for us to have. Not only to clear up some confusion, learn some stuff we haven't had just for like the sake of learning it. I mean, maybe you're sort of a geek about some of that stuff like I can be, but it helps us prevent re-victimization. And I say that with full acknowledgement that whomever has caused the abuser is always responsible for the abuse. Simultaneously, there's things I've been able to learn from that experience and I've been able to lean into and learn more about after my religious abuse experiences that has made me less apt to be abused again. I am more educated, I'm more solid. It's going to be harder for me to get tricked by some jerk out there who is wholly responsible for what they're doing. And that's something that I appreciate in my own journey is that I have that sense of safety within myself because of this equipping that I didn't have before. And so when we're talking about rebuilding after religious abuse, and we're talking about Can-I, we're talking about rebuilding with biblical literacy, which is the one we're going to wrap up with. I really see all three as going together. They are foundational in whatever your life is going to look like moving forward. And so again, please consider them. If you're not sure which one maybe is the best fit for you at this time, I've already had people reach out and be like, "Hey, can I tell you a little bit about where I'm at? And can you give a recommendation?" Absolutely. I am happy to do that. Please reach out and we will help you navigate which direction might be the best one to go in or the best one to start with. So yeah, I think that's kind of, it's my message for all of them. I would say the same with rebuilding with biblical literacy, but these are things that we should have been taught already, and we most likely were not. And so yeah, let's learn it. Let's learn it now.
Let's learn it. Rebuilding with Biblical Literacy. This is a brand new course, and it's the second in the rebuilding series, like Naomi just mentioned, that this is a process. And so we're really excited for this next level up. With this curriculum, you'll meet virtually for 4 live group sessions that gently walk you through how to read your Bible when the Bible has been used against you, which is a common thing that we experience. You'll gain clarity on words like exegesis, hermeneutics, maybe learn how to spell them, learn lots of tips and tools for effective reading of scripture, and gain insight and practice into how to revisit passages that may have been misapplied or used to cause you harm, and you may still be getting triggered by them. So that's going to be super practical. It's a great fit for anyone desiring to prevent religious abuse, victimization for themselves or their loved ones. So Naomi, how did this course come to be? If you haven't already answered the question.
Yeah. So first of all, it really is brand new. Is in I just got back my last, I think 4 or 5 notes from our peer review process. So, and then it's being sent over to my assistant who is creating the PDF outlines and the weekly summary. So like it really is this new. I am really excited about this one. I don't know if it's just because it's new. So it's like, cool, we get to release a new one, which we try to do 1 to 2 new ones a year. I already know our 2 for next year. But so I don't know if it's just because it's new or this really is like a heartbeat of mine is how do we actually read our Bibles? And there isn't, you can listen to so many people talk about this, and please feel free to. There are great resources out there about how to read your Bible, how to correctly exegete and interpret, which is the hermeneutics part of it. And we get into those words, and we make sure that you understand these things. But none of it is done in the context of someone who has been abused with the Bible. And that totally changes the conversation. It changes how we're going to approach it. It changes the obstacles we're going to have. Like, we've got obstacles that someone coming to the text who didn't experience spiritual abuse does not have. They might just have, like, how do I understand it as an obstacle? We may have our previous leader's misinterpretation that was used to take advantage of us resounding in our heads when we open the book. That's totally different. And so this course is designed for people who have had that kind of experience where they are triggered when they hear Bible verses, they hear those other voices in their minds of what these verses mean. They are confused, they are in pain, and the Bible is seen as either, I just don't know what to do with it because of all of that, or it's seen as something that was a weapon. And this, again, it's written for you if any of this applies to you. So to now more directly answer your question, Natasha, how did this course come to be? It came to be because I've lived through this. I've lived through it, and we talk about this again all the time. Okay, how do I actually read this? Like, God looks like a totally different being in the Old Testament than the New Testament. Why is this? Okay, this is looking real questionable here. Why is that? Hey, this verse was used in this way, but you're telling me it doesn't mean that. How do I know who to believe? How do I know who to trust and who to listen to? How do I do these things? Like, how is the Bible safe? And if so, how so? And this is a really big, important conversation for anyone who is still curious about the Christian faith. So whether you are Christian and this has been tough for you, whether you are Christian, you've experienced spiritual abuse, you're reading the Bible, but you're still like, I still don't really know for sure just if I'm reading it properly or not, this still applies for you. So whatever that looks like, if you have experienced spiritual abuse and you have not been taught how to read your Bible for yourself, let's equip you to do so, again, with your context in focus so that you are able to check for yourself and be way less at risk of someone lying to you.
That's so good, Naomi. I'm just curious, you mentioned this course is great if you identify as a Christian, maybe if you're still figuring that out. But what about for people who've decided, no, I'm not a Christian? Is there still any benefit here to them learning this information?
I think there's still a benefit into learning this information because it can still help make sense out of what you experienced. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Natasha, because it's something that we ask permission to do with our clients who are not identifying as Christian. Is we ask if you share about something that was taken from the Bible and we know that's not actually what the Bible says, do we have permission to show you what it does say? Now, that doesn't mean that you believe that it's in the inspired word of God. That doesn't mean that you believe it's without error, but it helps us to place the accountability where it actually goes and to take the accountability off the book and what is supposedly said in the book and put it on the person who twisted what's in the book. And that helps us with clarity as, again, we move forward in our journey, whatever that's going to look like.
Great. So let's get a sneak peek. In week 1, you talk about exegesis, one of our big vocab words, which is the work of determining the original meaning of the text. What is one clue for doing this that you really appreciate and you want people to know?
One clue is to check the genre. And so this is something that many people don't realize. The Bible has a lot of different genres. I'm blanking off the top of my head if it's like 11 or 14. It's a lot. There's a lot of them. So if we're reading, for example, like if we're going to read a book and we're going to read it like, okay, this is telling me a narrative. This is telling me what happened. But in reality, it's poetry. Then we're going to get a very different message out of it than the author intended to communicate to us. So knowing what genre or what genres, because sometimes it's plural within one book, like they can switch back and forth, knowing what's present in that book can help us get a more accurate interpretation of what is being said. When we think about things like poetry, when we think about metaphors, like this stuff gets lost in translation. We remember that, wait, this isn't the original language it was written in. So this isn't going to read the same. And so those are clues that we can look for to help us, again, get a more accurate interpretation of what the original author intended for the original audience. And from there, we get to move into, okay, how does this now intersect with my life?
Awesome. Besides the fact that it's new and that it's 4 weeks instead of 7 weeks, is there anything different about this course from CanI as far as the structure goes, materials needed, confidentiality?
No, everything's the same. Same code of conduct agreement, same structure, different day, same time frame, different day of the week. Yeah, 4 weeks instead of 7 weeks, which is why you'll see it priced differently because it's smaller, it's shorter. Everything else about it is the same. Same thing as you don't need to buy any additional, materials. We do give you our reference list though. We want to be transparent in that and you can use that as suggestions if you want to look further into things. And yeah, all of those specifics are the same for CanI and Rebuilding with Biblical Literacy.
Awesome. Thanks, Naomi. I'm going to put a link in the chat that you can check out for more information that's in writing, as well as the discount code for any of these courses. And just want to share a testimony of someone who has taken this course, just to give you an idea of just the power of impact that this is making in people's lives. Amy says, "Thank you for giving me tools I can apply to my daily life. This information in these courses is something practical I can use. It is concrete, applicable, measurable, doable." With that, Naomi, I want to hand it over to you to talk about the promise that we have for people here.
So, gosh, I'm having a little bit of an emotional week. And so I might tear up as I say this to you all. So please bear with me if I do. I needed these resources. I wish that they had been available to me. And I know that things like bEmboldened come out of things like what I just said, right? That's how gaps are filled. As we recognize a gap, we've experienced the need, and then we seek to fill it. And I know that my story of I really needed something is true for so many of you. And some of you didn't have it before, but it might still be relevant now. There might be more equipping that can be done. There may be deeper layers of healing that pop up that you weren't aware of, and you need to circle back and turn toward them instead of away from them. And so these courses are designed to equip you with this healthy, whole, and sustainable way of living as you journey forward. So I just want to share that we really do get it. And I'm cautious when I say that because I'm not into platitudes, and I'm not into like, oh, I understand if we don't understand. I'm not saying I get every aspect of your story or I lived it in the same way, but I get the trauma, I get the damage, I get the fallout, and I get the how long it takes. And so we get it in these ways. And religious abuse is painful, and it has likely bled into every area of your life, both internal and external. If you've sought support before, you've very likely been disappointed. Maybe people have backed away from you slowly, not knowing what to say, or they were accidentally dismissive with platitudes, about maybe God having a plan. Maybe your suffering was minimized or your integrity was called into question. Or maybe someone was fascinated by the train wreck and forgot that, no, you're actually a real person and the damage has been done to you in your very real life. If any of this resonates with you, first of all, our hearts break along with yours. This should not have happened. You were treated wrongly, whether it was intentional or it was accidental, you were still treated wrongly. I want to encourage you that you're not alone in your experience, and you're not alone in this rebuilding and healing process that you're going through. I'm rooting for you. Natasha's rooting for you. The whole BE team is rooting for you. We have a prayer team that is rooting for you. We have supporters and fellow curriculum graduates that are rooting for you. And I just pray that whichever course you choose for this fall, it proves to be a huge step in your journey. So thank you for letting us be a part of it. And I truly mean this. Like, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to put purpose to the suffering I've had and to be able to offer what I have learned to you. So I pray that it serves you well.
If I could describe this in one sentence, I would say these courses really are a labor of love. And we hope that you can receive that and receive whatever healing you need from this information, these courses. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please email us if you have any questions. We're hopeful to see you this fall in one of our courses.